Well, this week the world is celebrating International Women's Day, so it's a good time to look at the status of women in leadership roles, particularly here in Southeast Asia. The latest data suggests women accounted for 47.7% of the global workforce in 2021, but at least globally, women held just 24% of identified senior leadership positions at that same time. Now that percentage is increasing and has been rising consistently for the past few years, but Carmen, is it enough to just be heading in the right direction? Or should the world be aiming for much faster advancement of this, admittedly just one measure of gender equality?
Well, Paul, that's a very important question, and definitely with the pandemic, we are seeing acceleration. However, the data is still mixed out there, and in fact, women have been on the short end of the stick, right, as far as the opportunities and what they've had to deal with working from home, looking after the family, trying to, juggle multiple balls and roles, as wives, as mothers, as sisters, and keeping their family safe and have a, successful career as well. So, I think, we are still far from obtaining, some data to say that, women have advanced. And certainly, from my perspective, I like to see more women, because I think over the last 3 years, we've seen women, step to the fore in national leadership, and in companies, are definitely appointing more female CEOs globally. However, we still have a lot of work to do.
There's been a lot talked about for many years about the family issues and traditional roles that have held women back from attaining higher positions more often. Has the pandemic created a shift in thinking there, with work-life balance and flexible working now having much greater importance for staff of all levels and genders?
Well, I think it depends on the company's culture, right? And I think the pandemic is a double-edged sword, if I may put it that way, because you see, the progressive companies that have actually before the pandemic already started to pay attention to the D&I, and now it's not just D&I, but it's DEIB, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and the sense of belonging. And those companies, you see, they will continue to accelerate their strategies in order to optimize and to make sure that workforce is well set up in this pandemic future. And then you see companies before the pandemic, they were sitting on the fence, and definitely, now a lot more are coming forward to say, hey, we need to have more women, we need to look after them, and how can we, develop our female talent. And there are those that continue, right, not to change their game and continue to play, right, and operate their business, same old. And I would say in this part of the world, Asia, right, where we're talking about Southeast Asia, where, you have countries like Myanmar, Vietnam, Singapore, and even Thailand, where women form more than 50% of the workforce. They are still trying to readjust, right? What does this pandemic mean in terms of their career development and advancement? I would say that, we are not seeing significant shifts as far as, these Asian countries are concerned, where, the cultures tend to be a lot more, defined in terms of the roles. But with the younger generation, I would say, right, the millennials, the Gen Z, we're definitely seeing a shift, because they are watching companies and how they treat women, and they would join the companies or not, depending on how the women are treated. So I think companies need to pay attention to that segment of the workforce. At the same time, think about how to support their female employees, because female employees definitely play a very, very important role in helping businesses to make money and to look after their customers. So I would say, we can't ignore the business benefits and imperatives. Now it's really not an option not to look after the female employees in terms of their career development, but I would say that it is really a business imperative.
And now that the new normal, or a new normal, is starting to take place and staff are returning to those more familiar working setups, what's your prediction for the glass ceiling over the next few years?
Well, it depends. I think if you look at it globally, right, a lot more westernized countries are looking to set quotas or to make it mandatory. In the US itself, reporting is going to be important and mandatory for, listed companies. And then in the I would say in the European countries, they are looking more at setting quotas. In Asia, I would say we're definitely falling behind that trend. In some boardrooms, I would say they have not even discussed this issue, right? Because anything that's not championed by the board or at the highest level, that there will not be any traction. So hopefully, with companies looking to capture the growth that comes with, perhaps borders opening up and countries realigning their supply chain operations and looking at new markets and operations, they should, definitely look at this area around how they can accelerate this trend. I would say that, the glass ceiling, you find that, in Singapore, we're leading the way in terms of having more female CEOs. And I do, see and hear a lot more businesses being set up by a lot of women. And you can be very, very sure that when the women sets up the company or they are CEOs of companies, that will have a trickle-down effect on appointing more female leaders, to the executive leadership. And hopefully, we're beginning to see that shift. But I think it will still take a while, as far as even family-owned businesses are concerned, or even, I would say, the more traditional industrial companies that have traditionally relied on a very homogeneous, workforce, I would say usually male-dominated, right? And even in the tech space, it has become very male-dominated, but that is changing because a lot more, millennials and Gen Zs are coming out to set up their startups and all that. So hopefully, I think, it will accelerate the trend, but it will take, we'll have to watch and see, and in the next few months and years, how, we can gather the data and analyze from there.
And Carmen, what is the role of HR in advancing more non-male candidates for leadership positions more often? Is there more to do at the policy side for large employers today?
Well, definitely. And I think, as we know, we always use the word enabler. But I think with the pandemic, hopefully we're having more courageous HR leadership stepping forward, putting together, a business case to help their leadership understand that this is really a business imperative, both not just for their workforce, but also for their customers. And there are real tangible benefits, for organizational agility and resiliency when, there's a more diverse workforce. So I think, HR plays a very, very important role in that. And where, they run up into challenges, right, with leadership that perhaps don't quite appreciate, this topic as much as they should, then I would say, just keep on pushing, keep on championing the cause. And, one day you might just, see a breakthrough. If you are out there, I would say align yourself with networks, women groups, and even business groups that believe in that, because I believe that, it is changing. And with the pandemic where, every company is looking to optimize the talent, HR plays a very critical role. And now is the moment for HR to really step up, right, to the plate. And this is a very evident area where you can really contribute as far as the business is concerned.